Yeah.
Hey,
Hello.
got all that technical stuff sorted out, or?
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna share this right now. Hello. It's all stuck. I feel like an 80-year-old here.
Technology is the best, isn't it?
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. Yeah, it is great that we can actually speak to each other from different sides of the universe. It's insane.
Yeah, yeah, seriously. I was gonna say, I'm just like for those of you who are joining right now, hey everyone. The time difference right now is absolutely hilarious because it is the morning in Canada right now. The sun is beating through my window, so and and the and what time is it for you over there? Because I couldn't figure it out. Because I was like, what?
It's around 4 in the afternoon.
Oh, okay, sweet. So, well, thank you for coming on the show. This is absolutely incredible. And
Yeah.
yeah, anytime. So, I guess to start things off, how you been? How's COVID, I guess, been over there for you guys? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw a on the news that Israel is mostly vaccinated now, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a tough question to ask these days, I guess. Israel
Mm,
is doing pretty good. Um, most of my choir is already vaccinated. My band is vaccinated. My family, and things are starting to get a little easier right now. So we can actually meet people, and of course, still we need to keep distance, wear masks, all of that. But at least we're not endlessly stuck at home. So that's something already. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it seems pretty nice over there because you guys got because the thing I'm kind of wondering about is you guys have the even though you guys like is most of the country vaccinated over there?
I'm not sure. Maybe a bit over 5 million people.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. Yeah, because one thing I've kind of figured too is because the vaccine rollout here in Canada has been terrible, and I but one thing I've been seeing consistently is like we have the countries that have had it mostly done are like they're not actually not opening up. They're not actually doing any mass gatherings yet. I think until most of the world has been, honestly. But yeah, no. So I guess, but enough of that. We're here to talk music. So before we get started, I guess I'll just say my usual thing to everyone watching. So if you have any questions for Noah or for myself, then please let us know in the comments, and we'll get to them. So I guess the first order of business is so how's things been with Scardust as of recently? Like you're doing a live stream show on Thursday, correct?
yes.
Yeah, so how's things been for you guys in general in the pandemic? Like I know you guys have been mainly working on like studio stuff and music videos and all that. So how's all that been?
Yeah, it's been so crazy, because the pandemic hit Israel in the middle of the recordings of our recent album, which was released in October. And, it hit us like, I don't know, it was in the middle of right between the drums recording and the choir recordings. So we actually had to split the choir recordings and do like the last part in individually, like recording the singers individually, which is totally crazy. Also, we had a guest in the album, the musician Patty Gurdy from Germany, and she was supposed to come to Israel to record the song with us, to shoot a video, to do a show together. And I think her flight got canceled like a day before, or something crazy like that. We had to fight our way into making this work regardless of those crazy circumstances. And then the rest of the album we just recorded in solidarity. It was the first lockdown. It lasted for maybe 2 months. And then all of the show in the summer obviously got canceled. So we couldn't promote the album, we couldn't fund the album. We had to come up with different solutions, and we came up with making multiple videos, like you said. So we put all of our effort into making 6 music videos for the album, and then do a live stream show for the release album. And then we had to announce something that we already knew, but the world didn't, that 2 of our members are going to be replaced by new members.
Mm.
So it's been hectic for Scardust, and now we're doing like the first show with the 2 new members, which is really exciting for us, because Or obviously is a new bass player. He was there from day one, so he's like a founding member of the band. So it's a really natural transition, and Aaron is a childhood friend. So it's the transition was quite natural for us, and we're very excited about it.
Yeah, and
Try to sum it up.
It's great. Yeah, and the thing is, and the thing I find pretty hilarious too about the whole thing is that, in terms of like, because you said that you guys had known for a while that you'd have 2 new members, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing I find hilarious is that not only since you guys play such intricate music is because over here in Canada, me and my guys have been trying to find because a keyboard player for ages, and it's like almost impossible. I'm like, the fact that you guys have like 2 and they're like so amazing at it over there in like a country that's much smaller, I'm just like,
First of all, let me tell you that finding a keyboard player is the most difficult task in the world.
It really is.
I mean, we've been changing keyboard players since we started the band. We never recorded an album with the same keyboardist. So they're constantly changing it. Yeah, it's crazy. I really hope this one will stick. Aaron, if you hear this, please stay. Yeah.
Don't leave me.
Yeah, and Or is just, Or is an interesting story. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Or is the new bass player, and he is actually the one who started the band with me. The way the band started was a bit weird. We both, in 2013, we both decided to write rock opera, like a prog metal opera, and we didn't really have a specific goal for it. But once we got, advanced in the writing, and we recorded all those demos for it, and it was like kind of a full project already. It consisted of, obviously, a metal band, Or just played all the instruments. He played the guitar, the bass, we both played the keyboards, and he programmed the drums. And then we had an entire orchestra arrangement, entire choir arrangement, 3 lead vocalists. I sang the female vocalist, he sang the male vocalist, and we both did like the growl vocalist kind of thing. And it took us about a year to write it and to record all the demos. And then when we finished, we realized that we have this wonderful collaboration, but a project that can't really go anywhere because we don't have the resources for it. So what we did do is that we auditioned for musicians. And then we found Yoav, the drummer, and Yanai, the previous bass player. And we started playing this music with them. And while playing with them, we realized that we have to put this project aside and write new music that will fit a live band. And then we found our guitarist, Yadin Moyal, and our first keyboardist, Leo. And then we wrote Shadow, which was the first official Scardust release in 2015. And the reason why Or, who is a complete genius, it's undeniable. You'll hear and see him. He's a genius. He plays all the instruments like a madman, but he has a limited vision. So he only sees, I think, he only sees about 10% and only in one of his eyes.
Wow.
The other one doesn't see at all. So he's almost completely blind. And he decided to step back to just write and compose for the band because, you know, when you deal with a very short soundtrack for a festival where, you know, everything is hectic and you don't see where the cables are and it's dark and there are so many people, he just didn't want to put himself in this situation and like kind of, you know, be a burden on other people and stuff like that. And yeah, and he wasn't at peace with it, you know, just, you know, okay, so I will write and compose and it will be fine. But he always loved playing music and he was always so amazing at it. So once Yanai already told us a few years ago that, you know, he thinks he won't stay here forever. He loves the band, he loves the music, but he saw his life, you know, take different paths, I guess.
Mhm.
So once Or felt more confident in, you know, okay, so what if I don't see? But I love playing and I'm so into this. So once he felt more confident with this, Yanai could more easily step back and let Or have this bass player position. And I think it was so natural and so friendly. It wasn't like, there wasn't any fight about it or hard feelings. It was just a nice transition. And I think it's, yeah, I feel very, very lucky about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was also, and it was interesting because I remember when you guys announced the new lineup, I saw your new bass player, and I remembered seeing him because you guys always used to post videos with him in it all the time. Like I saw on your Instagram, you'd post videos of him with you guys in the studio or whatever, and he'd be playing guitar or bass or whatever. And I like you, I was just like this dude was and I didn't even know that he had sight problems. That makes it even more amazing that he can play such intricate stuff just from that, you know.
Yeah, you know, first time I met him, I think it was 17 or something like that. We go way back, and
Oh yeah.
I didn't notice that he had any kind of problem until, I don't know, 2 years later or something like that. And even then, someone had to tell me. You can't really know unless you really yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, so
that's really impressive.
yeah, it's incredible. So I guess the next thing that I wanted to touch on, because you brought it up earlier, was for Strangers. Obviously, it was one of my favorite albums of last year. It was incredible, and I wanted to. Oh yeah, of course. I have it. I have it right. I have it right here.
Yeah. Cool.
And the thing that I wanted to ask about, because you brought it up earlier, was the recording process during COVID. Because you mentioned that when it hit, you guys just started. Well, you guys finished drums, and you just started doing everything else. So, what was the overall process like? I kind of want to hear. I guess I want to hear more about like the choir, because that's also kind of a segue into another thing I was going to ask about recording choirs, because on some of our new stuff, we actually have a choir here in Ottawa who their director actually told me she met you before. She was on vacation somewhere in she was on vacation somewhere in Europe, and she saw when I did the Mist contest for you guys, and she's like, "Hey, I know them. I've met her before." And I'm like, "Really?" "Yeah, I was on vacation in, I forgot where. It wasn't Israel, it was somewhere else." But she saw
famous right now.
she saw Hellscore play, and that kind of gave her inspiration, because we have a choir on one of our tracks, and I asked her to do it, and she's like, after seeing you guys, she was like, "Oh, yes, I'll do it. I'll do it." So my question.
Do you sing at the choir as well?
No, I did, but what happened was is that when we recorded it, it wasn't the whole choir. It was just like whoever was available, kind of, because their choir was about like 50 people, but I think we only had like maybe 15 or 20 there. It was just whoever could do it. It was just like, hey, a friend of mine asked me to do this. Who can do it? You know, and yeah, so recording a choir is difficult. Like, so how did you guys, since you've been doing it like professionally for a lot longer, how did you guys record? Because I saw in some of the videos that you guys recorded certain sections, like you would record like the tenors and the sopranos all separately. So I guess just, I know I'm rambling a bit, but I guess walk me through what the process was like during kind of COVID.
Yeah, okay, so regardless, of a COVID or a COVID situation aside,
Yeah.
I usually like to record choirs in voice groups, like you said, basses, then tenors, then altos, then sopranos. Sometimes I switch, I do altos and sopranos first because I don't want to sound inappropriate in any way, but usually the guys need to hear the girls' voices in order to be more in pitch. Usually, not in all cases, but it's usually how it works. For example, in the Therian album, I think I switched it around. I put the altos and sopranos first, and then the basses and tenors. And I think the basses and tenors sound so much better than the altos and sopranos. But I don't know. I think I'm the only person who can actually hear the difference. But never mind. I do record the sections separately for sure. And I dub them at least 3 times. So we do each take for at least 3 times and sometimes 5 times. But it has to be like an uneven number. So it can't be 4 times. And the only part that we didn't do the dubs was the intro of the overture, because we wanted to hear the individual voices. And the way we recorded it, I usually really make sure that everyone can hear everything, and I make sure that everyone has like a perfect balance when they hear the other voice groups and they hear the piano and the guitar and everything is perfect in the ear. But in the intro of the overture, we did something completely different. We just played a piano part, which is not on the album, but we played it like a guide piano part. And then each voice group recorded while they only hear this piano part and not each other. And I think it created such a unique sound. It literally sounds like they are strangers, you know? Yeah, exactly, because they couldn't hear each other and they couldn't really properly blend with each other. And then we didn't dub it. So you can literally hear, I know all the singers, so I can literally recognize each and every voice. And it's the first time I've ever done anything like it. And I think it created this special kind of sound. Definitely a brave way to start an album.
Yeah, that's incredible because like it was really cool hearing you say that, because I didn't realize that like it took that much to do it, because as I said, when we did it, it was literally just like the classic. It was all of them kind of in a semicircle with like one ribbon mic kind of high above them. That's kind of how that's kind of how we did it. But like I'm a huge nerd for like different like production techniques like that. So the fact that you did that is freaking insane, you know?
Yeah, no,
so it's like
I'll tell you what the reason behind it. Because if it was a classical piece, we would definitely consider doing it the classical way, like you said, like with the room mics and having the whole choir together. But when you talk about metal and music that has to be very clean and very precise, and there is so much going on at every given moment, you can't have like any leaks or any balance issue. And you want the mix technician to have all the freedom. So you want them to have every group, separate, so they can mix them and place them in different, positions.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's why I always do that. I've been doing that, and you asked about do we do that professionally? So yes, we do since 2017, I think, with Hellscore. The first album we did professionally was Orphanland, the recent Orphanland album, and then it continued to the Amorphous album,
Arion.
Arian, yeah, Therian, Betty Gertie. Soon there will be more to come, and obviously the Scardust music. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So,
oh yeah. And I said I have the new Arion album and the new Patty Gertie CD as well, and those were. And yeah, I said you guys all sound great, like to the point where it's like when we did it, I was trying my best to emulate you guys, but it was very difficult. So I guess the main thing I actually wanted to ask you about Strangers, because on this show we'll have lots of different musicians and industry people, but my favorite people to have are vocalists, because since I'm a vocalist, I can kind of talk that kind of stuff with you guys. So the main thing I wanted to ask is, because I've never seen this before on an album, is in Strangers, every song, obviously not just musically, but like lyrically and thematically, are like mirror images of each other. So where did you get the inspiration or the idea to do that?
wow, that's a big question.
I didn't realize it was.
I guess, I've wanted to write on this topic of strangers for a long while, because it's all over. It surrounds us. It's, I think, even more so because I live in Israel, and, we have all those cultures, all those clashing cultures, and living together in different places. And I travel a lot, obviously not in the past year, but usually I travel a lot. I meet so many people in so many places, and it was always intriguing for me to deal with this topic of strangers. And then I guess I called I said, oh, the next album should be called Strangers, okay? And he said, okay. And then yeah, and then what we usually do before we go to the studio, we sit down and we just chat. And the chat can go on for 15 minutes, and it can go on for 5 hours. We just brainstorm, we chat. And then we enter the music room and we write whatever music comes, from this topic, from this brainstorm, I mean. So I guess the idea of having the two parallel songs was brought up in those brainstorms, and I can't even remember specifically what led us to decide this specific concept. I just remember that it's been discussed so much for so many hours. I can't really put my finger on, and this is when we decided to go with this concept. It just happened, because I guess strangers, because, you want to talk about strangers, you have to represent both sides in some kind of way. And I think this is two songs, and we both are absolute geeks for, concept albums, obviously. And we love themes. So it was so natural for us to take one concept, divide it into two songs that will speak to each other and have the same musical and lyrical themes. It was just a natural thing for us to do.
Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, because as I said, I've never heard anybody do that, and it's such a unique thing to do for like a concept album too, when the stories are usually very linear, you know. So yeah, and what were some of the just for the viewers? So like, can you give us some examples of like what were some of the ideas, not ideas, but like some of the concepts you had for the album? Like I know like correct me if I'm wrong, because it's but I know Tantibus 2 and Addicted are kind of supposed to be like a guy who's he's supposed to be like someone who's depressed who like sleeps a lot or something like that. So just enlighten us with what some of them are about.
Yeah, Fantibus 2 and Addicted, they can be interpreted in so many ways, and I like the depression interpretation, actually.
Yeah, that's what I got from it, because I thought like, oh, this guy is depressed, so he like when he like goes to sleep, he imagines kind of like a better life, and he likes that more than real life. So that's kind of what I took from it personally.
Yeah, it's a good interpretation. It can be actually any kind of addiction. It's something that you rely on to feel good, you know?
Mhm.
So it's either, like you said, like uh, go to sleep, dream about a better life, or just take a drug, or I don't know, be a workaholic and be, you know, addicted to your work, and you can only express yourself while you work, or I don't know, it can be just any kind of thing that you're addicted to and that you need for, you know, to feel good about yourself. And then addicted on the other side is about the person who cares about this person. And they want them to, you know, wake up
Mhm.
and realize that this is not the real life. This fantasy, this addiction is not the real life. The real life is here with the real people who really love you or really care for you.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, and trying to think. I have a few notes here. I was just trying to figure out what to go to next.
Yeah,
But
sure.
yeah,
And
no,
guys,
that's
hi everyone who's watching, by the way. Thank you for being
yo.
here. And if you have any questions, so feel free to leave them in the comments.
Yeah, please, please. I've just been so like I said, because with a lot of these streams that we've started doing, because we started doing these like a few weeks ago or so, and a lot of times I'm like didn't realize how many people have come and gone. So yeah, like please let us know if you have any questions, guys. More specifically, Noah, because she's the guest. So, but one thing I guess I can go into now is I know this might be another bit of a broad question, but this is really cool for me because to me, just to be a bit flattering right now, it's you're one of my absolute favorite vocalists, and it's great to finally talk to you face to face in some capacity after like the missed contest and all that. So one thing I wanted to ask was what's your background for vocals? Like, what was your like musical background? Because I remember seeing a video on your guys. I don't remember if it was yours or on Scardust, but it seems like you came from a whole family of singers. Correct me if I'm wrong. But so, what was your background? Like, were you kind of did you start learning like really young or something like that, or how did just what's your background for singing?
Yeah, actually, not. I wasn't really young uh, when I started learning, um, but I did. I was born in a musical family. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're all singers, but they're all musicians. None of them as a profession, but they all do it like a very big hobby. Yeah, so both my parents met on like in a musical circumstance. Back in the university, they both played in the orchestra or something like that, and this is where they actually met. So they built the entire family with, you know, music in heart, you know, in a
Mm.
way. And music was always playing at home. For me as a kid, I don't remember any even one day of my childhood without music playing, or you know, someone playing the piano or something like that. um, and my mother is very classical, and she's a violinist, and my father is really rock and roll, and he plays the guitar, and he loved, you know, Queen, Deep Purple, all of that, and my mom put Vivaldi and Mozart and Beethoven. So I kind of, as a child, I got, you know, both worlds. And at one hand, I was always, you know, playing. I played piano, cello, I sang in choirs and all that. But on the other hand, I had this rock and roll world, which absolutely fascinated me. And I wanted to learn more, and I wanted to, you know, I wanted to do that. I wanted to be a rock star, and, you know, who doesn't?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I was such a nerd. I played the piano, I played the cello. I mean, there was a huge distance between me and being a rock star. It was, yeah. But I guess I did my finals in piano, in classical piano, in the Jerusalem Academy. And it was such a hard work. I played maybe 10 or 12 hours a day. It was insane. And then when I finished it, I said, I don't want to play piano anymore. I don't want to play classical music anymore. Now it's time for me to, you know, put my time and money into singing and into being a rock star, kind of. So this is where I started really getting into singing. I was 18 or something like that. So it's quite late, actually. But as I said, I was always singing, and music was always surrounding me. And as a kid, I think my first song, I wrote it when I was 5, maybe, you know, and I played the piano and sang together. And yeah, so singing and music were always there. But I started focusing on it only after I graduated. And then I had a wonderful teacher who taught me all the basic things, like the anatomy, you know, the voice, how exactly is everything working there. And this is actually a great place to start, because you can take this knowledge and develop it yourself afterwards. And this is exactly what I needed, because then at 19, I joined the army, and I couldn't study anymore for 2 years, at least 2.5 years. So I had to kind of continue to, you know, teaching myself. And I was so lucky to have this teacher, because I could take all this knowledge that she gave me and really work on it myself. And being a huge nerd, it played well together, because I really dug deep into how the voice works, the anatomy, how to do this, how to do that. Why is this happening to me when I do this? And, you know, I really researched it deeply for, you know, during those years of the army. And when I finished the army, I had like a year of trying to learn costume design. Never mind. It's a different story for another time, I think. But during this year of making costumes, I realized that I am constantly singing. You know, I'm making costumes and singing, and I can't deny that this is my identity. This is who I am. And obviously, yeah. And then I think I had some teachers here and there, just you know, a few lessons here, a few lessons there, but nothing really serious as those years that I kind of trained myself. And then after this year of costume design thing, I contacted Florian, because I said,
what?
Yeah, because as I said, I tried different teachers and nothing really clicked, because they were all, you know, either they didn't know metal or like metal, or they were too close-minded, in my opinion. I couldn't find someone who really gets, you know, this thing. I love classical music. I love rock and metal. I love pop. I love everything. Can you teach me everything? And I just couldn't find anyone like that, you know? So then I think it was, she had After Forever. It was, I don't know, 12 years ago. I'm so old, oh my God. It was a while ago, yeah. And
it was before she was in Nightwish.
Sorry? Yeah, it was way before Nightwish.
Yeah.
It was, I think it was she had Revamp, the first Revamp album or something like that. So I contacted her. She kind of immediately replied back, and she said, yes, I would love to teach you. And we had like 2 years of online lessons. And this is where I could put this stamp of, okay, I am not only a professional singer, I'm also a voice teacher. And yeah, since then, it's history.
Yeah, and it's great that you bring up the whole like anatomy side of things, because because at least in my experience, that's actually it's so important, and a lot of people don't do it or simply just don't know it. Because as I remember telling you when I like messaged you at first, I remember telling you that like, because I've been singing since I was 16, 17, and I'm 22 now. So it's not very long, but for years I had a vocal coach too, and she taught me the basics, and she was great, but she was, again, didn't really know metal very well. She didn't really know the style of singing I wanted to do, because I was trying to emulate more of the Rob Halford kind of style, and for years I did it, and it was honestly very like anxiety inducing, because we would play shows, and because at the time I didn't know this, but I had such bad technique that I didn't know whether I was going to be able to sing that night or not. And it sucked. But then I went to, as I told you, again, I had vocal edema, which sucked. And I had to play shows with it, because I'm not someone who I like to cancel shows. Like during that whole period that I had it, it was like kind of like our best period for shows, but it was the worst for me vocally, because we got to play with Hammerfall and Battle Beast and all that when they came here. And but it was very like, oh, I can't sing. Yeah, it's just like, but it's like, oh, I can't sing the way I usually do. But then the person who I went to, who helped me out a lot and actually helped me get out of it, and because a lot of her techniques were very anatomy based and very therapeutic, was Mary Z from Helion Prime, right?
Sure.
Yeah, she was actually on the show like last week, and awesome. Yeah, and she was the one that kind of helped me with the whole. It's like, oh yeah, like your vocal anatomy, the way you were doing it, it was making your vocal cords go like this, and you hurt yourself. So here's what you do for your style, but here's how you do it properly. And immediately it was just like, man, not only does that sound better, but it like doesn't hurt either, Yeah. So it's so important. Yeah, so it is so important to have like that kind of thing, for
definitely
for vocal too.
Yeah, so Mary Z is awesome, and you should all watch her YouTube channel, because it's really great and it's really helpful. And yeah, I guess the anatomy thing is like, I would expect a professional guitarist to know how the guitar is built and how to set it up and how to change the string. So the same way as I would expect that from a professional guitarist, I would expect that from a professional singer. You need to know your instrument. You need to know what's going on, when you do this and that. Yeah. Yeah,
and so many people like, and it's unfortunate because so many people don't, because one of the things that I don't know how common this is in the metal scene over in Israel, but here in Canada and in North America in general, one of the things that we always like to make jokes about is that, like, since like obviously like a lot more people growl, we'll always make jokes about how we'll have a death metal band here and their singer will have really bad technique, and by the end of the show he's talking like this, thanks for coming everybody, so it's so important for that kind of thing. Speaking of Mary, actually, she brought something up that I didn't want to ask you about, because when I was doing my live chat with her last week, she actually mentioned you guys. She said that you guys were, before COVID, you guys were planning on coming to North America for the first time?
Wow, yeah, we had a lot of plans. I don't remember, but we did get a few invites to play in different festivals in both Canada and um and
In the States.
and Atlanta and states. Um, I don't specifically remember, but I think it all shut down in the middle of those conversations. So obviously it didn't go there, but I really hope that we will be able to pick up where we left off, because yeah, flying over to to America would be amazing for us.
Yeah, and when I heard, and when she told me about that, I was just like, Stardust is coming here? Ah! because the thing here in Canada is that we don't get like bands like that here very often, like in terms of like sort of like the power metal, prog metal kind of stuff. That's all very, very niche here, because everyone here is into like death metal and metalcore, and they're all just like, oh, real singing? Nah. And I'm just like, oh, come on, guys.
So how many people would come to a Scardust show in Canada?
I don't know actually, but it's one of those things that if you guys do ever plan on coming here, then let me know, because I can for sure help you guys out, because I know a lot of at least in the eastern part of Canada where I am, I know most of the promoters and all that, so
Awesome.
it can make your guys' job a lot easier if you guys decide to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks.
Yeah. All right, so we have about 10, 12 minutes left, I guess. So I'll ask the thing that I usually ask everybody who I bring on here, and this will be great for you especially, because again, you guys are a band that's doing so well in music right now. Is what's some parting advice that you can give to anybody, like a vocalist, or even someone in a band, or hell, even someone who does a choir or whatever? Like, what kind of advice you can give to people and our viewers watching?
I think especially these days, because I know everyone is struggling all over the world. Don't give up, because it's a tough business, and it will try to, knock you down again and again and again. And if you really are passionate about what you do, don't give up. Just keep it going, and eventually you'll get wherever you want to go, as long as you stick with it. Because it's so easy to just say it's too hard. There are too many obstacles on the way. They don't want to book me, and this person canceled on me, and this person doesn't want to work with me, and I can't find a decent record deal, and the bandmates hate my song, and it's so easy. It's so easy. So Did I disappear for a moment? Sorry.
Yeah, you froze for a second.
Yeah. Something is wrong with the phone. Technology, we talked about it.
Yeah.
I'm 80.
Oh yeah, it's like, oh yeah, and especially the time difference in the Wi-Fi and all that is just, again, hilarious. But continue, or unless that's what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was. Just keep on doing whatever you do, and don't give in to the easy way out of, it's too hard for me, I'm out. Don't do that. If you're passionate about it, if you like it, if you love it, go with it all the way, and don't let anything bring you down. I know I sound like a complete cliche at the moment, but it's a cliche for a reason, Yeah.
Yeah. And I found Yeah, and also I found that like even though that is very cliched, it does ring true because a lot of people need to hear stuff like that because I find that especially me, like you've been doing this a lot longer than I have, but I find that you do need to have really thick skin in this business because as you said, there is going to be people who won't like you, or there is going to be people who like give you like a bad review or whatever, and it sucks. Like I can actually still remember my like first like we put out when we first started, we put out like a demo and it was really bad. And I remember someone reviewed it and I think they said, again, this is before I did vocal training proper, but someone said my voice on there was nails on a chalkboard. And back then I was like, oh man, but you know, it sucks, but you know, and it's actually, and it's hilarious because if you have to take that kind of stuff in stride, I find, because that same guy who reviewed our demo when we put out our EP a few years ago, that same guy actually messaged me and said, "Hey man, I know I was a bit harsh on the last one. That's just how I am. But I'd love to review your new thing when it comes out." And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And I sent it to him. And then he gave it an amazing review, and he's like, "Oh, the vocals improved so much." And I'm just like, "Ha! I told you."
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and yeah, now I'm. Oh yeah, and now I'm very friendly with him. You know, so it's like you can't really take a lot of that stuff personally because he's a great dude. It's just I found it's one of those cool moments where it's just like when you sort of show someone who kind of like doubted you at first, and then you show them how much you've improved, and then they appreciate like the effort and all that. So I find like a lot of people, I've also even find even if you have like a bad song or a bad record out or whatever, it's not the end of the world. I also found it's like people like seeing bands like improve immensely, you know?
Yes, that's actually right. I do have another piece of advice.
Oh yeah?
Because you just reminded me of another thing that, you know, I really believe in, which is don't underestimate the value of connections between people. That's so important. A lot of people I know, especially in metal, we tend to, you know, think that we can do it by ourselves. We don't need anyone. And no, music is not the kind of business that you do by yourself. It's a business that, you know, you rely on other people. A band in itself is, you know, different people working together. And then they need their PR agent, and they need their manager, and they need their record deal, and they need the photographer who will come to the show, and they need the reviewer. Yeah? Like in your case, you needed a good connection with this guy, with this reviewer. And, you know, they need the other band because they want to play together. And they need this other musician because maybe he will be, you know, a guest in their show or in their album. So connections are everything. And I think it's such an important part of the business. Make connections and keep them. And it's, oh God, it's not a competition. Everyone loves music. Everyone loves music. Everyone wants good music. So why not build connections and, you know, do things together and be friendly to each other and help each other?
That's really that's really solid advice too, because like a lot of again, as you said, we've all seen it, and hell, I'm sure we've all even thought it at some point, like, oh, I don't need this or whatever. But one thing, and it's great that you mentioned that, because that's sort of the reason why I started doing this show, because the whole kind of Instagram live chat thing, it wasn't actually my idea. It was a friend of mine she was the first person I had on the show, because her name's Gaia Gawarda. She's from Montreal, and she's in a metal band, but she's mainly does like classical classical dark wave. It's like classical music mixed with electronic music. It's cool. And she had me on one of her episodes, and I thought, hey, this is a cool idea. And I asked her, I'm like, hey, do you mind if I rip off your idea? And she goes, yeah, absolutely. And it's because since we have different genres of music, we'll talk to different people, obviously. And even just from doing this, like, even though for the past few weeks, I've done mainly just people I know, there was also a lot of the guests coming up, and also even with you as well. It's also people that who I'm like just a fan of, that I want to just talk to, I want to just kind of pick their brain a lot. And I found that doing this has been great because we can have really great conversations. It's not very like, I hesitate to call it an interview. It's more like a sort of like and I found that people really the viewers really appreciate that kind of thing. And it also helps us too, because I'm talking to all these people who I want to have as contacts for the future, yourself included. So it's been great for that. So I guess, yeah, you're absolutely right. Just every contact that you make, they keep them close, and they can probably help you at some point.
Exactly, yeah. And that's absolutely right. And if you guys have any questions, I think that's like our last few minutes. So
yeah, we have a few more minutes. So if anybody has any questions, let us know right now. Also, my drummer Panos has been watching this entire time. He's there. What's up, man? It's actually funny because I told him I was doing this stream early here, because normally in Canada we do them like later at night, right? And he's actually in Greece right now. Our drummer's originally Greek, so he's like right near you guys. Greece is so I said to him, hey man, I'm doing the stream today early, and I know Israel and Greece are either in the same time zone or very close. So I'm like, you want to watch it, dude? Because normally when I do one, it's like 2 a.m. for him. So
yeah, I can imagine. Oh, I love Greece. Cheers to all the Greek people out there. I love your country. It's amazing. I think it's one of the things I miss the most with COVID, because Greece is so close. It's like 2 hours away, and you can find the cheapest flights ever. You can find the flight that is as cheap as a train to go to Greece here, So when I found a cheap flight, sometimes I used to just, pop to Greece for a weekend. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
I really miss it.
Yeah, I still haven't been yet, but he has a lot of connections there, because he's kind of the age range in my band is hilarious. Like, even though I'm the one that started it, I'm the youngest, and he's the oldest, and he actually was from a band from there called Memorane, who they were like a thrash band from Greece, and he remembers that from everybody they used to play with and all that, and so so we kind of have those connections. Oh, and Panos just left another comment saying, we will come to Israel one day and play together. Oh, that'd be a dream come true. Jesus.
Oh, yeah, hold on, I need to plug my phone, or else I will just disappear in a moment.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you really don't want that. Yeah. All right. So if you guys have any questions, this is your last chance.
Last chance. I guess I guess while we're waiting, I'll ask you one last small thing. One thing that I saw you guys did, and I'm wondering if in the near future, when we can, will there be another Scarfest?
Definitely. Definitely. Scarfest was one of the most, fun experiences, because we only had bands that we like. And like both musically and, the people in the band. So we only had people who we like working with. And I guess it's connecting to the previous topic of, just having good connections with people. and this festival was like the essence of it. So we had both musicians that we like and artists in general that came there and did like a kind of a bazaar with selling their art and selling food, and yeah, it was so fun. Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sweet. And it's funny, and the reason why I bring that up is because that festival that you guys did, me personally, that's actually how I discovered you guys, was when you posted. I was seeing it shared around on Facebook, is when you posted the Tantibus 2 live video. That's when I first discovered you guys, actually, was from that show, from that video. And I saw it, and I'm just like, I remember around that time when I discovered you guys, I had just started doing lessons with Mary, and I just started doing, I just started doing, like, trying to improve more and get out of the crappy rut that I was in. And I remember posting it onto Instagram, not on here, but on like my personal one. And I had a photo in front of my microphone with like a really kind of like shocked expression on my face, and all I put was trying to improve as a singer and then finding out this person exists. I'm just
That's awesome. Thanks.
cool. Well, anyways, I guess right now, I guess I'll call it for now. But thank you so much for doing this. This was a lot of fun. It was great to get to know you a bit better and to hear a lot of your stories and your creative process and all that. It was great.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun, and yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I guess I'll just do my little thing that I say at the end of all these. So go follow Scardust, go follow Noah, follow us at Lycanthro Metal on Instagram, and tune in on Wednesday because we're going to be talking to Lucas from our friends band Malakota. So yeah, well, anyways, thank you very much, Noah. It was amazing to meet you finally. So yeah.
Yeah, you too.
Sweet. All right, well, all right, see ya.
Yeah.